I always thought betrayal would come with fireworks. Some explosive argument, maybe a shattered glass, accusations hurled across the room. But it didn't. It came 2 days before the wedding, wrapped in silence, tucked into the space between casual conversation and an innocent slip of her phone. Her name was Amber. We'd been together 4 years. The wedding was planned for a Saturday afternoon, flowers ordered, venue paid for, guests already flying in. My tux was steamed and hanging, untouched, next to hers. I hadn't noticed anything was wrong. Not really. Maybe that's the worst part of it all. That morning, I woke up early. I was too anxious to sleep, thinking about my vows. I'd written a draft months ago, but I kept revisiting them, tweaking the phrasing, trying to strike the perfect tone. Honest. Loving. A little self-deprecating, people like that, right? I wanted them to laugh, then cry. Maybe that sounds theatrical, but I was sincere. I meant every word. Amber was still asleep beside me. Her hair spread across the pillow, one arm thrown over the sheets like nothing in the world could touch her. She looked peaceful, and for a second, I believed the story we were about to tell the world. That we were in love, and always would be. I got up, made coffee, and sat at the kitchen table flipping through the notepad I kept for ideas. Somewhere between "You Are My Lighthouse" and "I Never Believed in Fate Until You," I heard her phone buzz. Then again. And again. It wasn't unusual. She was popular, always chatting with friends. But something about the way the screen lit up made me glance over. Her screen lit up with a name I didn't recognize, Nate, Jim, flexed biceps, medium light skin tone. The emoji alone told me too much. I picked up the phone. No passcode. She once said, "What's the point? We trust each other." That trust turned to acid in my throat. I opened the chat. Scrolled up. Then I couldn't stop. Messages from the night before. Photos. Plans. References to that hotel near the lake and how she couldn't wait to finally have him inside her. I didn't confront her right away. I put her phone back exactly where it was, face down on the nightstand. She didn't wake up. She didn't feel my world crack in half. Instead, I stood in the kitchen for an hour, staring at nothing. The rest of the day, I played my part. We met with the caterer, went over the seating chart, laughed with our families. I smiled for photos. I even kissed her on the cheek when someone told us we were couple goals. I kept thinking about the messages. About Nate. About how small and stupid she must think I am. That night, she said she needed to run a few errands. Last-minute wedding stuff. Just a quick stop at the mall. I didn't ask questions. I just nodded. And I watched her walk out the door. The thing about betrayal is, it doesn't kill you. It just rearranges you. By the time she left that night, my whole body was humming. Not with sadness. Not yet. It was something colder. More focused. Maybe it was survival. Maybe it was the part of me that remembered every time I let something slide because I didn't want to seem controlling. But this wasn't something to let slide. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I opened my laptop. I'd been using a wedding planning spreadsheet for the past 6 months. Guest lists, hotel blocks, menu selections, it was all in there. But the most important tab was the one I opened now, expenses. She hadn't paid for a single thing. Everything, from the photographer to the floral arrangements, was billed to me or my parents. Amber said she was too stressed or between freelance gigs, but promised she'd contribute in her own way. I pulled out my phone and sent one text to my best friend, Marcus. "Need your help. Tonight." He called back instantly. "What's going on?" "She's cheating. I found out this morning. Holy sh. I need to disappear. Quietly. But not before making sure she gets exactly what she deserves." We met at a diner 2 towns over. I brought everything, receipts, rental contract, and the letter I drafted. It wasn't a goodbye letter. Just the truth. I also had something else, a USB drive. 3 videos. One where she said she was bored of playing house. Another where she joked about Nate's abs. And the third, her holding up the wedding dress, laughing, saying she probably wouldn't even make it to the honeymoon without seeing him again. Marcus and I stayed up all night. I cancelled the honeymoon. Froze the joint account. Booked a one-way flight. And before I left, I dropped the letter and USB on her vanity with a note, in case you forget who you are. Then I walked out. No explosion. No fight. Just the quiet sound of a door closing. And her never seeing it coming. She stood at the altar alone. Some thought it was a prank. A flash mob. A weird modern twist. Then someone played the videos. No one knows who. I didn't send them. But they spread. Amber tried to salvage the moment. Tried to explain. Cried. Blamed miscommunication. But the room had already turned cold. Her mother left. Her father stayed seated, arms crossed. Her friends, most of them slipped out quietly. She messaged me later that night. How could you do this? In front of everyone? You ruined my life. No apology. No ownership. Just disbelief that I had slipped through her fingers and let her fall. She tried to keep working, pretending nothing happened. But clients pulled out. Word got around. One employer said she was too visible. She was used to being the center of attention. Now no one would look her in the eye. A few weeks later, she called again. I don't know who I am anymore. I said, I don't care anymore. And I meant it. That's when it started to end. Not just between us, but for her version of herself. The one who thought she could burn people and still glow. But the light was out. And I wasn't the one who turned off the switch. She reached out again. This time it was different. Her voice was tired. Less fire, more ash. Nate ghosted her. Said she was too dramatic. Her parents stopped defending her. Even the friends who once clapped for her disappeared. I didn't think you had it in you, she said. I almost replied, neither did I. But I didn't. I met someone new. Her name was Lena. She worked at a bookstore. Not flashy. Not intense. She didn't try to fix me, didn't ask too many questions. She just said, want to get coffee? And that felt like enough. I told her the truth. Not the whole viral story, just the part where I got left behind. The part where I stood up and walked away instead. She didn't flinch. Just said, sounds like you chose yourself. That night, I slept better than I had in months. Every time Amber reached out after that, I answered the same way, with silence. You can't negotiate with someone who's done needing validation. She wanted a reaction. A fight. A crack in the wall. But I had already moved on. Not to a new person. Not even to Lena. But to myself. For the first time in a long time, I liked the person I came home to. Me. I didn't expect to ever hear from her family again. Then one day I got a message from a number I didn't recognize. Hey Trey. It's Kara. Amber's cousin. Can we talk? We met at a diner. She looked nervous, holding something in her hand. She checked herself into a program, she said. I didn't say anything. She asked me to give you this. Kara slid a letter across the table. Only if I thought it would help. She didn't stay. Just left the envelope and walked out. I didn't open it for days. Then one night, after Lena had gone home, I sat alone at the kitchen table and unfolded it. No begging. No pity. Just honesty. She said she knew she'd done irreversible damage. That she finally stopped trying to justify it. That she was learning how not to repeat it. I don't expect you to forgive me, she wrote. I just hope one day you remember that there was a version of me who loved you. And maybe one day, I'll remember how to be her again. I read it once. Then I took it outside and burned it in the grill on my balcony. Not out of anger, but because I had nothing left to carry. Some things don't need to be held on to, even if they finally sound honest. Especially then. It was just an ordinary morning. I was making coffee. Opened the junk drawer looking for a spoon, and there it was. The ring box. Still there. Still closed. I hadn't touched it since the week of the wedding. I should have thrown it out, but I didn't. Maybe some part of me thought I'd need it to remember, to stay angry. But now? Now it felt like dead weight. I called my mom. Told her I found the ring. She said, you know, your dad proposed with a ring from a pawn shop. Spent everything else fixing his car so he could drive to see me. He gave me love, not a diamond. A ring, she added, only means something in the right story. That night, I drove to the river. I didn't throw the ring into the water. That would have made it hers again. I buried it. Under a tree that hadn't bloomed yet. Let the earth take it. Let time decide what it becomes. Then I drove home. Lighter. When I saw Marcus later, he looked at me and said, "You're different." I was. And when Lena asked if I felt done with it all, I told her the truth. I'm not carrying it anymore. She smiled. Said nothing. And that silence felt like peace. I ran into Melissa at a grocery store. We hadn't talked since college. Back when Amber and I first got together. We grabbed coffee. Talked like old friends. You look taller, she said. I'm not. No, I mean, you finally take up space. She said back then, I looked like someone folding himself into corners so a louder person could shine. Now I look like someone who wasn't trying to disappear. Before we left, she hugged me. You deserved better, she said. I'm glad you finally know it. That night, I stood in front of the mirror. Not flexing. Not adjusting. Not criticizing. Just existing. And I didn't see the guy who got cheated on. I saw someone who survived it. Really survived it. A few days later, Lena and I sat on her rooftop. Legs swinging over the edge, 2 mugs of wine in hand. She asked, "You think you'll ever get married again?" I thought about it. Maybe. But not to prove anything. Not to fix anything. She nodded. Just because it feels right. Amber emailed me one last time. I finished the program. I'm moving. I won't reach out again. I know I've done irreversible damage. I'm not trying to undo it anymore. Just trying not to repeat it. I archived the message. Didn't reply. Not out of anger. But because there was nothing left to say. Sometimes healing isn't a sunrise. Sometimes it's just waking up and realizing you didn't dream about them. That you didn't flinch when their name popped up. That you smiled because of your own reasons. No grand finale. Just peace. Marcus said, "You came out more whole." Lena said, "You get to live again." And me? I finally believed them. Amber betrayed me 2 days before the wedding. But I saved myself 1 day before. And that's the part I'll always keep.